Over the weekend, I realized that later this year, not right now, but this year, within the year 2021, uh, will occur the 30th anniversary of this particular incarnation of Land of the Lost. So that's not my intention, but good timing on my part. I wonder if there will be any big celebrations elsewhere on the internet or even television. Probably not. But another thing over the weekend, I watched a bunch of King Kong movies in preparation for the Godzilla vs. Kong, which will be available on HBO Max tomorrow night. And I will make a video about it after I've seen it and comment more on these King Kong movies and all the Showa era Godzilla movies that I watched months ago, but are still pretty fresh in my mind, and the more recent MonsterVerse, which we also watched a couple of. I'll have a video about it, but the stop motion in the original Godzilla, the 1933 Godzilla, reminded me of the stop motion in Land of the Lost, the 1991 Land of the Lost. I still on the fence about whether or not I'm going to watch any of the 70s Land of the Lost ever. But so it reminded it. I looked at that, I saw it, I thought, and it looks really good. Other than the island natives in that movie, it's a really lot of really good stuff in that movie. But it occurred to me, well, stop motion wouldn't necessarily have changed that much in 60 years. So it kind of makes sense that it looks like the only difference is it took a big Hollywood movie budget to use that kind of stop motion animation in 1933, and in 1991, a cheap children's television show in color could do it. So that's just an interesting thing, and I'll talk more about King Kong and Godzilla tomorrow night. Um, so the episodes that I watched, The Crystal and Wild Thing, a lot of Sleestaks in both of them, and I kind of started thinking, and I don't know why this didn't occur to me the first time I saw Sleestaks, but it occurred to me that the people in the costumes might not be making the word sounds that we are hearing, because they don't necessarily need to. Maybe they re-recorded, but I don't know how that, based on how those masks look, I wonder if any of those masks still exist. But it doesn't look like sound could escape those masks, and the mouths don't move that well with the words, so it made me wonder if there was some voiceover going on. I will try to learn more about that at some point. In the Crystal, the Sleestaks, well, Shung gets mad at his two minions, and he uses the crystal to force push the one of the Sleestaks. Nim and Keeg are their names. It's hard. I have no idea which one's which. But force blasts one of them against the tree. The other one's up in the tree gathering fruit. Falls on Shung, who then throws the crystal into the air, as you do when someone falls on you, and it just vanishes from it is far from them. It lands in front of Stink, and Stink is a little afraid of it, but he picks it up and then he gives it to Annie. So he doesn't try to use it himself. He's a little afraid of it, I think. He knows the Sleestaks better than Annie does. And so then she has it, and she starts learning to use it. She has also been left in a tree because she was gathering fruit, just like the Sleestaks were gathering fruit. It's this ladybug looks like a giant ladybug, this fruit. And she and Kevin, she threw the fruit at him because he wasn't doing anything. He was being lazy, and so he woke up and took the ladder away so she couldn't climb out of the tree. Then a Brontosaurus helped her down in a scene somewhat reminiscent of the Brontosaurus scene in Jurassic Park, where they're up in the tree and they feed the Brontosaurus the tree branch. And so that was cute. The Brontosaurus plays a big role in both of these episodes, actually. So she's feeling bitter, and then Stink gives her this powerful mystical weapon. I assume that something like that, the crystal dagger, Shung's crystal dagger, would break in combat, but at the same time, if I were some kind of mystical fantasy warrior, that would be my weapon of choice. Also an axe, but it's such a pretty. I wonder if that still exists. I wonder if these props still exist somewhere. Um, I could be a low budget obscure TV version of Prop Culture, which is a Disney Plus series that I've been watching. Let's see. Um, Annie starts using the crystal, learns its power. She uses it to ward off Scarface, the T-Rex, and then she turns evil, like the characters in Space Cases, and like at least Jake in Animorphs. And she does the evil Annie performance. And unlike in those episodes, she is still adorable, even when she's being evil. But that's that kind of show. It's not a dark show like those shows went to dark places. Land of the Lost is pretty lighthearted and upbeat, more like a typical sitcom. So she decides to use the thing, the dagger, to play a prank on Kevin. And this prank is using the dagger to summon Kevin's backpack out of his tent, steal candy, and then banish the backpack back into his tent. She's hanging outside the tent with Stink. Very obvious out in the open. It's the middle of the night. They're camping. Why are they camping? I don't know. It might be. If they explained it, I didn't catch it. It might be because they had to travel a long way to pick the fruit. I hope it's not just for a change of scenery and some camping, because they live in a treehouse, a very nicely woven straw treehouse with no glass on the windows. Their life is camping. So that just seemed weird to me that they would be camping. I have no idea why. And maybe she pushed the backpack in too hard because it wakes up Kevin and he confronts her. And then Tom, obviously the father, he is woken up. Tasha is very disturbed by the glowing mystical dagger, and Tom and Kevin say that Annie has to get rid of the dagger because it is a dangerous, evil thing, and of course she doesn't want to, but she later does. In the meantime, Shung and the other Nim and Keeg have been looking for the dagger, and they find the porter's campsite. Maybe they're camping because the writers didn't want the Sleestags to find the treehouse and therefore be able to do things at the treehouse, because that would be dangerous for the characters. So maybe that's why. But Annie returns after looking reflectively, literally and figuratively, into a pool of water. And she defeats Shung with the crystal, and then she tells the crystal to go away and throws it, and it buries itself in the ground, and her family still loves her. And it then, the crystal dagger then reveals itself as Shung walks by wherever it was. So it returns to Shung. I don't know if it wanted to return to Shung. I don't know if this is a one ring of power situation, but that's that episode. And the other episode, Wild Thing. What does Wild Thing refer to? It refers to Tasha. That's right. I'm talking to me, not you. It wasn't a Blue's Clues thing where I was trying to get you to say it to the screen. That was me forgetting briefly what the episode was about. And the premise of this episode is, of course, that Tasha is a wild animal and needs to go back into the wild. At least that is the attitude of Tom and Kevin, who are not as attached to Tasha as Annie is. And Tasha starts, it's more that she's a toddler and less that she's a wild animal. She does things like runs into the laundry, knocks the laundry down, knocks things over, has nightmares and yells in the middle of the night. The show opens with Tasha and Annie watching Scarface fight a Stegosaurus, which is probably traumatic considering Tasha didn't witness, but maybe in the egg, Tasha felt when Scarface killed her mother. And the reason this is a little strange is that Tasha is probably more domesticated than if the Porters ever had a dog or a cat. and more suited to their family, because if they had a dog or a cat, they bought it from a pet store, it was already a couple weeks or months old. Tasha, they hatched. Tasha never knew anything but living with these people. Um, so, yes, she's an animal, but so are dogs and cats. And uh, so, yeah, but of course, ultimately the episode ends with she can come back into the fold. So it's not, but it's just a weird sort of, I don't know. I feel like I'm being harder on Land of the Lost than I was on Wishbone or Space Cases or Animorphs. But yeah, that's. I mean, I'm just saying what I made note of. Um, Shang also is in this. Why are the Sleestaks are in this because they want to capture Tasha because she is a nice plump thing to eat. When Nim and Keeg don't manage to or haven't managed to bring Shang any good food in a long time, he calls them fly lickers, which I thought was a clever insult for a lizard creature. And then there's another one somewhere down here. Another, maybe I'll see it, but growing up? No, not that. Thunder lizard, yes. The Sleestaks, they refer to the Brontosaurus as a thunder lizard. And I think the word dinosaur means terrible lizard. I'm not positive. It's been a long time since I watched that episode of the Magic School Bus. But it's just the way they refer to things is fun. So their goal is to capture Tasha, and the porters are trying to make Tasha go back into the wild, at least except for Annie. Of course, Annie has a problem with Tasha too, because Tasha gets into Annie's makeup, and she seems to have a lot of makeup. They were going on vacation, and Annie is it doesn't seem like the makeup type of girl. Now, maybe these are precious things, because Tasha also gets into what Annie refers to as her precious things, and so maybe maybe the makeup was her mother's, and she traveled, but still they were going on vacation. They have a lot of stuff for having been going on vacation, and I understand this is just, so that they can have stuff for plots to happen, but that much makeup and that kind of makeup for Annie on vacation in the Land of the Lost seemed a bit much. But it looked great on Tasha. Let's see. Beautiful weaking in that horse. House? I don't know. Let's see. Tasha knocks over things, and eventually the porters banish her. She knocks over. They create a makeshift shower, and Natasha knocks it over. And I saw the shower. Like, they didn't have a shower before. They are perfectly coiffed, and their clothes are spotless. How do they not have a shower before? They must. I've got this little laundry thing. It's kind of like a big. It looks like R2-D2 a little bit. And you put water and detergent and then your clothes into it, and then you crank it over and over for 2 minutes, and then you drain the water, and then you put fresh water in, no detergent, and then you crank it again, and it rinses. And then I always rinse it under a faucet. But the point is, you could do a lot with laundry and washing even without plumbing. But they get so excited about the shower, and they look great. They're even clean shaven. So it's that, but Tasha's got to have stuff to knock over so that she can be banished. And after she's banished, Tom refers to her as a member of the family, and that just made it a little bit more ridiculous that he was banishing her, because of course that is not what you do with members of the family, especially when they are toddlers, and doing what toddlers do is banish them to the jungle. So. But again, this is classic family sitcom in the time of dinosaurs. That's what this is. So it's got to have stuff like that. One of the first things that Tasha does is she encounters the purple flower from Jumanji that shoots yellow dart things, and I don't think this is a real flower that exists in the real world. I know that the giant yellow one from Jumanji doesn't actually exist, but I'm pretty sure the purple one doesn't either. But anyway, this one does in the world of Land of the Lost, and it shoots its yellow dart things toward Tasha, and they end up hitting the Brontosaurus in the snout. And the Brontosaurus, of course, doesn't have fingers, so it lowers its head. It's got a long neck, lowers its head down to Tasha's level. Tasha uses her fingers to pull it out, pull the things out, and then Tasha thinks she's made a friend, and when the Brontosaurus starts going away, Tasha goes to follow it, like, this will be my mother now, and the Brontosaurus says no in its Brontosaurus language, and so Tasha has been rejected yet again, and is promptly trapped. And I wrote down, reassurances are pathetic. Every time Tom tries to say to Annie, Tasha will be fine, especially when it sounds like Tasha is being, something's happened, abducted, his reassurances are pathetic, which is probably why he ultimately relents, but still doesn't explain why he had a bad idea in the first place. They hear her cries from her trap from the treehouse, and they go to look for her, and then when they find her, the Sleestaks are trying to get at her, and the Brontosaurus comes to her aid, and this is the same Brontosaurus. There are only 4 dinosaurs in the Land of the Lost, and this is the same Brontosaurus who helped Annie in the previous episode, and then of course Tasha is welcomed back into the fold. So that's not as interesting as other episodes so far. I'm pretty sure there are way more interesting episodes coming up. Let me just see what the next 2 are. Day for Night. Okay, that looks good. And Kevin versus the Volcano. That also looks good. So hopefully more interesting things to say in the future. But for now, as Krista would say, peace and love.